if you as an individual member want to take on the pharmaceutical industries, it's forget it. People would come up to you and say, you really need to, back off on this. It could be bad for the community or bad for the country or bad for you.
Much of what the drug industry does fulfills the criteria for organized crime in U.S. law.
These board members wake up, they go to a meeting at Merck or Pfizer, and then they have their driver take them over to a meeting with NBC to decide what kind of programming that network is going to air.
Measles outbreak prompting a state of emergency in Washington state.
A state of emergency has been declared in Washington state where 35 cases of infection have now been confirmed.
If someone brought in measles, even one person brought it into the international airport, and they encounter unvaccinated kids, it starts to spread like wildfire.
People have such strong feelings about this. It's one thing to protect your own freedom, it's another to infringe on other people's health. Right. And the science is very clear on this, that vaccines are safe.
The World Health Organization considers reluctance to vaccinate one of its top 10 global threats for 2019.
Tonight, at least 30 of the 35 patients sickened with the measles in Clark County, Washington, were never vaccinated. Experts here warn the public might have been exposed at a recent Portland Trailblazers game.
I called the state lab, well, one of my doctors did, and we were trying to find out, how do we get this sample to you? Both times we were told no need to send the sample. What we were told 3 days ago, this past Friday, was that there has not been, and I quote, a single case of community-acquired measles in this entire outbreak, and I end quote. So they did not even want a sample from a child who had been exposed, was at the Blazers game where the measles person had been, and had possible measles. They weren't even interested in looking for the sample because they knew there hasn't been a single case of community-acquired measles. What does that mean? That means the exposure happened in a closed setting. We know there are a couple churches in the Southwest Washington area where a lot of the congregation were under or unimmunized. And those people were told to isolate, and that's appropriate. You send people home so you don't go out into the community and expose the greater community.
Boy, this is the life, isn't it?
Yeah, if you have to get sick, you sure can't beat the measles.
That's right. No medicine. Inside or out. Like shots, I mean.
Don't even mention shots. Yuck!
How comfortable are you with your own immunity and titers that hang around measles kids?
Well, I had measles.
Oh, you had it?
Yes. I mean, I'm of an age where I was born before 1957.
Oh, got it. So you cheated and got measles. So you're saying, okay, I'm just going to go on record here and say, Paul Offit says, have a measles party, everyone.
So I have a much greater immune response. It's true. But the question, so why not? Well, then why not have natural measles parties? I mean, because if you're going to get a better immune response, that's not the right question.
It certainly has reached a critical stage in my county.
Stonier is now co-sponsoring a bipartisan House bill that would require every child at every public and private school in the state and licensed daycare center to be vaccinated for measles, mumps, and rubella unless they have a legitimate medical or religious exemption.
If you would have asked me 4 years ago, I would have told you that, yeah, every child needs their vaccines.
Abigail Eckhart refuses to vaccinate her youngest child. She says it's because her middle child suffered significant behavioral and physical reactions after being vaccinated.
The internet can radicalize people, and how the internet can introduce people to really extreme and dangerous views. We talk about in the context of terrorism and violence, but it can also happen in the context of public health.
Emails that were being transferred between the people working at Merck says any doctor that questions the safety of Vioxx, we will hunt them down and destroy them where they live. What is their responsibility if a vaccine hurts somebody? Zero. Zero, because in 1986, the pharmaceutical industry essentially blackmailed Ronald Reagan and said, we're going to stop making vaccines because we have so many lawsuits against us that it's getting really difficult to make any money with this product.
There are people in this room who are going to make an ungodly sum of money selling Advair. And you know who you are.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Daryl Baker, Simon Jones, Rob Yacht, and Ken Timer.
Y'all ready for this?
Today's the day the pharmaceutical reps show up to peddle their new drugs. And at Sacred Heart, that means one thing. Julie's here.
Despite the myth that giving vaccines in the private office is a money-losing proposition, I find that giving vaccines to patients of all ages not only generates a steady income, but is a strong, healthy boost to the bottom line.
You can't just give people potentially dangerous drugs and see what happens. You're a Fortune 500 company, not a white guy with dreadlocks at Burning Man.
Dr. Sun.
Yeah, I just want to make a clarification on the use of vaccines in pregnancy. Unless there is a study of that vaccine in pregnant women, even though that age indication, may fall in within that age indication, it is still not considered. Use in pregnant women would still be considered off-label.
Does it say that on the CDC? Half of pregnant women protect themselves and their babies against flu. Time to bump it up with an off-label vaccine that's designed for a totally different group of people. We have no records responsive to your request. There it is. FDA has responded. CDC is advertising for a use that we have never tested it on.
Just about every major drug company has paid money to settle similar charges. Johnson & Johnson paid $2.2 billion. Eli Lilly paid $1.4 billion. Pfizer and its subsidiary paid $2.3 billion. And GlaxoSmithKline paid out a record $3 billion to settle accusations that it had, among other things, pushed Wellbutrin, an antidepressant, as a cure for weight gain and sexual dysfunction. Or, as one former drug rep describes the pitch,
it was a quick zinger for your doc to tell your doctor, hey doc, remember Wellbutrin, it's the happy, horny, skinny drug.
I essentially say to a doctor, hey, our company has identified you to be a thought leader. Would you like to be a thought leader for our company?
Get out of here. Get the fuck out of here. Really, I don't want to talk to you.
The CEO of UMC University Medical Center here, my hospital where I round in Las Vegas.
We're always appreciative of you coming out and sharing your message with your community, and a big fan of yours and supporters. So
after this shot, am I going to be good at math, Z? You're going to be really good because you're going to be fully autistic after this, instead of just partially. You know, Tom, I'm wondering if we've just been hit with placebo here because I didn't feel a needle. I didn't feel the autism coming on, like none of it.
Dr. Spencer McDonald, family medicine, here to get his flu shot.
Now, Dr. Spence, are you worried about autism from this vaccine?
Very, very, very worried.
In our pharma code, we say that pharmaceutical representatives can bring an occasional meal, a modest meal, turkey sandwiches, pizza. I don't want to just focus on turkey. Maybe we could have ham sandwiches, but modest meals, not steak in a restaurant.
The Justice Department filed a civil fraud lawsuit against the Swiss drug maker Novartis, accusing it of paying kickbacks and lavishly spending on doctors, including taking some out to Hooters in exchange for prescribing its drugs.
Only 30% of my budget is predictable funds. Other 70% I have to take ahead and go around the world to beg for money. And when they give us the money, they are highly linked to their preferences, what they like.
They've undermined every institution in our democracy that is supposed to protect little children from powerful, greedy corporations. They've undermined the medical establishment. They've cowed the scientists and defunded the ones who are trying to tell the truth, and they destroy the publications that publish real science. The pharmaceutical companies have been able to purchase Congress. They're the largest lobbying entity in Washington, D.C. They have more lobbyists in Washington, D.C. than there are congressmen and senators combined. They've compromised the press. Any of you who watch evening news and see the pharmaceutical ads one after the other, that's a way of buying the news in this country.